Okay, I'm gonna start right now. Okay.
Sounds good.
What's up, everyone? I'm Carter Banks, and you're watching Twice Two is Four podcast, and we're here today with Kimberly Coulter, and we're gonna talk about some stuff that's been going on lately, because there always does seem to be a lot going on, especially lately. So, shit. I haven't talked to you since the 4th, or the 5th, or the 6th. It was the 6th that the free speech rally was.
Yeah, it was on the 6th, I believe that was correct.
Yeah. I only saw footage from YouTube that was barely, very, very hard to find, because I feel like they were suppressing the shit out of it.
Well, I mean, there was suppression of it for sure, and there was also not all that much media coverage.
Oh.
I mean, it was mostly word of mouth. There was a couple different organizations there, and there was one in particular. I should have written down the name because that's important, but I'll make sure you get that information to share in your description. Who is just filming the one guy who was carrying the anti-Semitic sign.
Oh, of course. I was like, oh, how convenient for that to end up in the...
Yeah. Well, what didn't in most mainstream stories was the fact that Ollie Alexander ended up taking the mic and giving an impromptu speech about how he doesn't represent us and he was a plant, and it turned out after just a little bit of research and like one or two photos of him afterwards hanging out with Antifa that he was a member of Antifa.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing. I definitely... What about the other guy? Because I saw in the video that I found, there was like one guy who was helping shout everyone else down. Was he, like, partnered with that guy? Are they both from Antifa?
Helping shout everybody else down.
There was some other dude, he was wearing like, some other shirt, it seemed like he was with that guy. He was the one who was like, oh, you guys aren't about free speech. I should be able to say this stuff. He wasn't actually holding a sign.
Spikes on him with the sign?
Yeah, not that guy, but the other guy.
I don't know of another guy.
Oh.
Maybe I don't remember that being a thing.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of irrelevant anyway. But yeah, the bottom line is that was really lame.
Well, the important part of it also was that the Proud Boys quickly, disarmed him without getting violent. That also wasn't reported. We hear all the time about how violent and terrible Proud Boys are, but they really just defend, as Gavin McInnes would put it. And I don't necessarily always agree with Gavin McInnes because he's a little bit raunchy, but as Gavin would say, they don't start fights, they finish them. And I think that held true, especially in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even see a punch thrown.
No, there was no violence that broke out amongst the protesters. It's
like the guy with the sign stormed the stage with the sign, and then was...
He was clearly trying to assault Ali. There's no doubt about it. How far he would have taken it is another matter, but nobody gave him the time to be able to figure that out, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was weird because I was watching the footage, like I told you earlier, I was like following whatever footage I could get, and it was mainly it was mainly like independent journalists walking around trying to get people from Antifa to talk to them, which none of them would do, and there was like a bunch of ridiculous. I don't know. You think they would have something to say? You think that's why they would want to gather and protest? It's bizarre how I guess they don't have a message.
Well, I mean, their message is just often very misguided. And I feel sympathy for people who constantly feel like they're under attack. But the fact is, if you look at what's really been going on, there is clearly one side that's under attack and one side that's the aggressors and one side that acts like terrorists. Antifa is responsible for the most consistent mass groups of terrorist attacks in our country since, maybe even since, like the KKK.
It's really, yeah, you're right. And, right, like a few days after that, I was like, because Antifa, following the Andy No debacle, which really should have been, well, it was a pretty big deal. I guess CNN covered it. I think they're still, I could be wrong, but I feel like they're still praising Antifa. I saw some stuff come out about them having...
They were condoning him, or condoning Antifa, that's for sure.
But I watched a documentary, and it was actually really ironic, because I got some quotes down. Let me see if I can find them. It was basically what is fascism, like, what do people think of that, and bear with me here for a sec.
Not a problem.
Hello, girls and guys and theys and thems and everybody else. If you're watching this right now, thank you, and thanks for being patient while I look this shit up real quick. I figured I'd seize the opportunity to drop in and not only thank you again, but tell you this video is not going to be monetized, I'm sure. Nor will it be suggested in searches, but if you think this is a productive conversation and you like what you hear, definitely feel free to subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Our country's clearly divided right now, and I think the only way we can bring people back together is through words and dialogue, and we don't seem to be having a lot of that these days, so let's try and make a change. Anyway, back to the podcast. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so claiming to be the champion of the oppressed. It's funny because the way Nazi Germany started, according to, as far as fascism relates to, oh, did you just blur your background? That looks really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I think Hitler, while he was rising to power, was claiming to be the champion of the oppressed. In Nazi Germany, and they basically had campaigns with, physical intimidation. Of course, Hitler had his brown shirts. Fascism starts as violence. Interrupted speeches with chants. Collective dream. Believe, obey, fight. That was like their mantra. And I was just reading some of this stuff, and I was like, that's exactly what the anti-fascists are doing.
Yeah.
It was against the law to talk against the fascist party. Not even journalism were allowed to write what they wanted to. Fascism was perceived as a strong movement, providing simple answers to complicated questions. That was another thing. It's like, simple answers to the complicated questions, which you see is pretty much like the Green New Deal, to name one. I don't know, it's creepy. I think we touched on this a little bit last time, but do you think they actually, do they really believe what they're doing, or is it... Because it seems like they're pretty dedicated, unhealthfully.
I mean, I would hope to a certain degree that they would be believing in what they say, but it does seem a little bit ridiculous considering a lot of what at least far left beliefs are centered around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be escalating, especially after the Van Spronson thing. I guess the biggest news and the escalation recently, it's almost like I didn't even want to keep tuning in because it was just getting so stressful to look but you also can't look away, I feel like, as far as
you also can't stop talking about it because the conservative voices are getting silenced every day.
Yeah. But as far as the camps that are being called concentration camps.
The detention centers?
The detention centers, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Alexandria Cortez was responsible for radicalizing Antifa terrorists to firebomb the ICE detention facility. That's undeniable. And calling them concentration camps is not only irresponsible, but false. They've, for all the videos that they have where people are, oh, well, look at these people in cages, they get more supplies and more treatment than people who could possibly even be innocent in county prisons in our own country, like, who are here legally, who pay taxes. If they don't have money when they come in for commissary, they'll often go for as long as it takes for them to get money before they get, soap, toothpaste, underwear, basic stuff. So, like, guys will be in there and unable to shower. As you can imagine, that's disgusting in a men's or women's facility.
Yeah, I definitely...
And honestly, if you break the law, I've had a lot of people saying, like, oh, well, people seeking, refugee or asylum status can check in at the borders legally. And it's like, yeah, so why aren't they checking in at the borders legally? It's like,
yeah.
if you sneak in, if you break the law to get into this country and you're separated from your of course, if you're breaking the law, you don't get to stay with your family. That's not true anywhere. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand what escapes people about that. And obviously, like, I don't want people living in conditions like that. I'm not a monster. I don't think that the facilities are definitely capable. I mean, it's almost impossible for that many facilities to be able to hold that many people and maintain a level of cleanliness, especially when these individuals themselves produce a lot of waste and probably don't really clean up after themselves. I just, like, I can only imagine, when you get depressed or whatever, as I'm sure a lot of these people are, there's not a lot of cleaning up after yourselves, and there's not a lot of maintenance. They could be, this is all pure speculation, though, so I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that these detention centers are not concentration camps. These detention centers are not as bad as people are trying to make us believe with their crocodile tears and their, oh, woe is me, the families, oh, the children, you can't do this to the children. And it's like, okay, well, this started way back when Barack Obama was president. You had nothing to say about that shit then.
Yeah.
And, don't cross illegally. And I think President Trump is on point, saying that if you cross through a second or third country, you don't get to claim asylum here. That's not how asylum works. You're supposed to go to the next safest area. You can't, especially because people take advantage of a lot of the immigration policies that we do have in place. Children get sold, children get kidnapped and eventually either discarded or sold again into some form or another of slavery, sexual or otherwise. And you want to call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, you can go ahead and do that, but there is enough evidence to prove that that happens.
Yeah. I mean, seeking asylum, I think this is just speculation too, but I feel like in order for the arguments that are coming from most of the people yelling the loudest about them on Facebook, they have to believe that most of the people are trying to seek asylum and coming from Mexico.
Yeah, but also, I'm sorry, they also, they're told that if they have a child with them, they're far more likely to be granted asylum.
Oh, yeah.
They're far more likely to be given aid. So people will just snatch up some kids. Like, you don't show up with an ID, there's no proof that these kids are yours. There's no, way to have to back up the fact that, like, oh yeah, all of these are mine. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, not only that, but they're not all coming from Mexico. Apparently, we've had, from some statistic I read, I think 5,000 a day. People
Something
just lining up.
Like $1 million a year to
Yeah,
like
taking...
a medium to small size city every year.
Yeah, and like taking planes from like African countries and South American countries over to Mexico to come in.
Lauren Southern's documentary also exposed the fact that there are people exist who train you on how to appear to be a refugee seeker. They give you backstories. They tell the border people. They tell you to like affiliate with certain religions. They tell you to exactly, what you need to say in order to get granted asylum.
Yeah.
So if that happens in the case of people coming to the European Union, I can only imagine that such people exist, especially when we know that people aren't just coming from Mexico, right? People are coming from all sorts of other places to come through Mexico to be able to get into the United States, legally or otherwise. Mostly otherwise, unfortunately.
Yeah. To quote Tim Pool, I think he was quoting somebody who said that they just wanted Buffalo Wild Wings, and it just feels like
What was the Tim Pool quote?
It was I think it was Vox. I could be wrong, but I think he said Vox interviewed somebody who interviewed some people, and they said, "Oh, what do you want to come to America for?" And they're like, "We just want Buffalo Wild Wings." And I was just like, well, that's, I guess, the sum up of people just want to come here.
I mean, that's funny and all, but like, people want to come here because we have revolving door social programs, and we put a lot of tax money into taking care of people who often end up to be immigrants.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, legal immigrants.
Yeah, they're trying to like eliminate the word now.
Well, I mean, what was my aunt Ann Coulter's big thing when Trump was running was that, she kept talking about how he's going to get rid of anchor babies and how he's going to tighten up the border, and I just like remember thinking, oh gosh, that's so terrible. Why would she say these things? And now in retrospect, I like, while I still think that the term anchor baby is a little bit inflammatory, I understand why people like her don't really give a shit about your feelings anymore. She's really more interested in in saving this country, and I think personally she might. Honestly, at this point, she's made her brand, so this totally is blowing smoke out of my butt. But to a certain degree, I feel like a little bit more of a soft mannerism would have gotten her a lot farther with these really tender snowflake types.
Yeah.
But, it wouldn't have been Ann Coulter. I think that's why so many people love her, because she'll stick to her guns, so... I guess I wouldn't technically wish that upon her. Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like so many people... I don't know, I was watching Aziz Ansari's new comedy thing on Netflix. Funny enough, when I was in New York, me and my friend went to this, I think it was the Comedy Cellar or the one attached to it, where you don't know who's going to be there, but people will walk in. And he actually was the feature of the night, came on at the last minute. So I saw this stuff early. It was really cool. But he's been going all out at attacking the snowflake generation and how just kind of poking fun at how unacceptable things are now as opposed to even 5 years ago. Like, you can't say almost anything without somebody saying that's racist, that's politically incorrect, and it's getting exponentially worse, I feel like. So I almost...
Well, I'm sure after that rape allegation, he got rather woke rather fast.
Oh, yeah. He got very woke, but he did refer to the whole wokeness as like a contest between white people to like see who can get more woke. It's like some people, I don't want to retell his jokes, but he was like, oh, you know, people are arguing over being woke, and one person's like, oh no, I don't even have a forehead because my eyes are like so open, you know, past my hairline, etc. It was funny. But
maybe I'll give it a chance. I don't know, like, I guess Netflix people don't do their job well, because every time I see the bumper for that new special of his, I just like don't want to watch it.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't even like his show, and I never liked him. Like, I always thought he was just...
You mean Master of None?
Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes specifically because Eric Wareheim was like one of his friends or something. But yeah, I didn't like it. But it's actually pretty funny, the new special, and, you know, he's got some jokes.
The thing is, like, he was a really funny character on Parks and Rec, and then he, like a lot of other bit comedians, decided that he was going to take that character and do a whole special about that character. And of course, without the supporting characters and without the main characters, it tanked, right? Because it's not, like, Alone, and especially after I saw that and I watched, you know, Aziz on Parks and Rec, Alone, he's just annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean Aziz Ansari, I mean, like, the character of, I watch this show all the time. How am I forget? Tom Haverford. The character of Tom Haverford alone, without any one of those characters to play off of, is just like a whining, annoying kind of loser. Like, you know, he's a beta male cuck for sure.
Stole the words from my mouth. One of my favorites lately.
I don't think I've said that on a video yet. I just kind of wanted to toss that one out there. I maybe shouldn't be so cavalier about it, but Tom Haverford is a fictional character, so if anybody wants
he can't sue you. Sue you for defamation of character. So is that what Masters of None is? Just that guy?
Like, cried because he jammed his finger in a bowling ball. Like, if anything, if you can call any character a beta cuck, that's the character.
Yeah, I would agree. To get into cuckery, it is kind of weird looking around. I noticed this a few years ago, but it seems like a lot of, I guess, the new wave of men and dudes I don't want to like talk shit about everybody.
Dude, I just talked about e-boys today. So,
about
like,
what?
I don't even... E-boys.
What is an e-boy?
They're like... It's like what the kids these days are calling what, like, we would have called the scene kids.
Oh,
like, the
great.
boys with the nail polish, and they're like...
Nail polish?
They're like kawaii life and anime and gaming.
Yeah.
And just everything black, and they listen to the used... Maybe that's too old of a reference. I don't know.
No, I grew up with the emo
Hawthorne
scene.
Heights. I don't know. I should know more. I went through a pretty serious scene phase. I should be able to recall more directly. But it's been a minute. It has been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I wore skinny jeans back when they didn't make them for guys, and we had to go get girls' pants. Yeah.
I was both rocking the the safety pins in my ears. And,
oh shit!
Yeah,
some serious
I went
stuff.
all the way.
Nice.
The trip clothes isn't part of all the way, by the way. That's just like I inherited that from some other girl at one of my treatment programs, and I was like, yeah, I have trip, and I didn't even pay for it. What?
But yeah, I feel like there's a weird movement of like that, but taken to an extreme where I think guys think that Well, because society has told them, like, you need to exemplify all these traits of a beta male cuck, what could be described as that, and that's how you get the girl. And I've seen a lot of...
Girls don't like that.
Yeah,
Girls like
yeah.
that in theory, and then they get sick of it. And trust me, I've been there. You know, and I don't speak for all women. I don't even pretend to speak for all women, but if you're anything like me, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not super special. There's a lot of women who've been through what I've been through and who have similar circumstances to mine, who like just like would not at all be interested, at least long term, in somebody like at least to the worst degree of that stereotype. But like I said, as somebody who also runs a mental health awareness site, I'm trying to not be so like, oh, beta male cuck, like,
yeah,
because like I feel like that's some kind of really awful, weird, specific stereotype that like totally does apply in certain circumstances.
I mean, yeah, in its literal sense, if I think somebody else, if you're the victim of some other guy doing your wife, then you're a cuck. That's what the dictionary definition is. So, but it definitely has taken on a deeper meaning now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have, a used to be friend of mine, posted a status a long time ago because some people in the subway were calling him out because he looked like he had a white supremacist hairstyle, and he was like, what do I have to do to be less threatening to minorities? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You got verbally assaulted on the subway because they assumed because of your hairstyle and the color of your skin that you were a white supremacist, and they were like, where are your friends? What are you gonna do about it? And you're coming on here and asking, like, what can I do to be a better person? Like, what do I have to do to not have the guilt from the white supremacy? Like, what the fuck are you... I'm sorry, I shouldn't be cursing so much, but I just, like, this was years ago, and even to this day, I just remember, like, you shouldn't be sorry, and I was, like, attacked by everyone, like, no, he can do things in order to make sure they know he's an ally, and da-da-da, and I was just like...
See, that's the whole ally thing. Like, this is so ridiculous.
The hypocrisy of saying that because of his skin type and because of the way he wore his hair, he was more likely to be a white supremacist.
Well, first of all, how do you wear his hair? Because I'm just curious. Like, what is a white supremacist haircut?
Okay, but I mean, like, you know, the fucking... I forget, the
bald?
Undercut, or whatever it is.
Undercut.
The undercut with the, like, I'm... You know, I don't know what they're called. I don't have a men's haircut.
A mohawk?
But... No, like it's like where it's like it has a fade and then it has the stuff on the top. I don't know what it's called.
That was just called a very cool hairstyle like 6 years ago.
I know, but could you imagine if he went up to a young black male sitting on the subway and was like, "Yo, what's up? You about to rob somebody here? You trying to sell drugs? Like,
oh yeah,
what the fuck you? Where are your homies at?" Imagine what the fuck people would have said around him, but instead they're like, no, you have to apologize for the way you were sitting on the subway looking like a white supremacist.
Yeah, and we see how far apologies get these days.
Nowhere.
That's just basically an admission of guilt. It's like a mind fuck. People will...
Roseanne Barr's lack of a career is evidence enough of that.
Oh yeah, that's just one of many. Do you think this is going to go on forever? Like, what is the whole...
I hope it's not going to go on forever. I certainly don't think... Trump was on Tucker Carlson the other day, and he was talking about how this suppression was happening during the last election, and he's still president. So I like his vote of confidence, and I see his approval ratings are up, and I see that unemployment is up, and the economy is doing well, and I think that... You know, the general consensus among conservatives is that they're pro-Trump, and I'm officially rocking my Trump 2020 band.
Oh, they have those?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if the camera will...
Not that I support Trump or don't support Trump. I wouldn't make that known. But Oh, yeah, I honestly, regardless of where my support lies, I have no doubt that he's going to win a second term.
I have respect for our president.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to acknowledge that he's done a good job. And I remember in the last, I'm not going to let people not let me wear this band the way, like, I'm not going to let them not let me wear a MAGA hat. You know, I can support the president. Whether or not I would choose to vote for him, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
If he also hasn't really kept up his promises as far as immigration, and that's really important.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's it called? Oh, shoot. There's this thing in Islam that is called...
A kafir?
No, it starts with a T. Sorry, I'm going to take a minute to look this up.
Go ahead.
This is super important.
Yeah. I'll do a thing where I fast forward through both of our phone tangents.
Okay, it's called Taqiyya.
Okay. What is that?
And it basically, Islam is the only religion that basically says that you can lie about your intention and you can lie about how you actually feel about other people's religion in order to convert them.
Yeah.
So, I spent so much time looking it up that I was like, so at least when it comes to immigration, when like we look at how the state of like Minnesota and other places that are just like overrun with Somalian and otherwise immigrants, who are promoting this pro-Islamic rhetoric, and who function under this idea of it's spelled Taqiyya.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard it's in the I tried to read the Quran and it was just a very hard read.
I hard body flipped a bitch and started talking about Islam, but I was just talking to Laura Loomer about how CARE and Ilhan Omar and those kinds of people attack her character, and how they targeted her Instagram and her Facebook and her Twitter account. Specifically, her Twitter account was targeted by CARE. And I'm going to be writing an article about that hopefully soon, because there's not nearly enough coverage about the most banned woman in America.
Yeah.
And I've already received a lot of criticism, like, oh, you must really like her. Oh, you must just like, no, this is like the tipping point of a national crisis where an independent journalist is silenced and isn't given credit for her journalistic, her intellectual property as a journalist.
I mean, yeah, like I said about the whole quotes from that Fascism documentary, that's when they start silencing journalists and telling you what you are allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. It's not good from there. It doesn't get better, which is why I'm concerned. I know we were talking about Trump, but before that, I was trying to get your thoughts on whether you thought if things were going to get... Because I don't see an end result. Like, to quote Gavin McInnes, his theory, play it out. Like, see what happens. Like, does that really make sense? What do you think is going to end up happening?
I am no authority. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I hope that we don't... I'm hoping that President Trump isn't lying to us and saying that we will never become a socialist country. I hope that stays true. And anything else, I just, I want to see less bipartisan discourse between the left and the right. And I think that means like finding a way to hardcore reel back on some of the extremes on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't particularly, I just see more examples both in my personal life and when I go out and do the actual research of people from the left being less tolerant of either centrists or moderates or conservatives or Republicans or like I said, anyone even slightly to the right of left, or yeah, that's the way I would say it. Anyway, slightly to the center or to the right of left.
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary thinking about. I mean, the whole socialism movement. I've been definitely burning the candle at both ends, researching that, and I just don't like every time. Like, so in 1956, when Khrushchev came out and said, "Yeah, all the stories that you heard about Siberian genocide and the kulaks and all this terrible torture that happened in the gulags, yeah, that's all true, not just propaganda." Like, even like those French intellectuals like Foucault had to denounce socialism then, but I was listening another guy to look out for and watch. He has a book out, but Stephen Hicks, and he says, you know, what do really intelligent people do when they find out that their ideology isn't working? They start a new one and rebrand it as something else. And I feel like socialism has just been, you know, after the, you know, light was shed on it and it was revealed that, oh, this is terrible. This is actually the polar opposite effect of what it claims to be in every scenario it's been tried in. But now it's rebranded as like socialism, happy. We give money to you. And
if you want to learn more about that, there's a really good movie out called The Enemies Within.
Enemies Within.
Yeah, I saw it like a very early premiere viewing of it. And I was fortunate enough to be able to snag a copy. I want to make sure that I get the names of the people right. Then you can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Okay, cool.
The Enemies Within, Communists, Socialists, and Progressives in the U.S. Congress by Trevor Loudon. It's spelled Loudon, so I'm sorry for horribly butchering your name, but it's a very well done piece. I think there's also a book. But anyway, that's a good source for learning about the dark side of Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders and the Clintons, and it doesn't necessarily go dark side as far as like Epstein is concerned, but
yeah, that's the dark side that nobody will even talk about, even the good people.
Oh no. Everybody's trying to talk about how Trump has all these connections to Epstein.
Oh, they try everything they can to tie him to any negative thing in the news. It's like they lose one thing, they just try again.
Epstein bragged that he practically founded the Clinton administration, right?
It's not good for Clinton.
He's like close personal friends with the Clintons. They've been on Lolita, you know, at least 36
times, yeah.
Yeah, 30 or 40, yeah, but over 30 times that they have records of. They have pictures together. They have pictures of the Clintons with all sorts of people on Lolita, with all sorts of people that are known to go to this Epstein fuck palace island, where they're raping children.
It sounds like it doesn't even sound real, but yeah, that's ridiculous.
And I'm not trying to claim authority. These are alleged things, but because I'm really not trying to get Clinton, you know, shoot myself twice or anything.
Yeah. But, no, totally. But, you know, another thing you never hear about is, didn't Mike Cernovich have like a huge hand in bringing that case back to light?
Yeah, Mike
and
Cernovich,
nobody talks about it.
Well, because people It's like the same reason they don't talk about Laura Loomer getting banned from Twitter for revealing that Ilhan Omar married her brother,
which is really coming out in the news now.
Mainstream fucking news right now, but nobody, you know, these journalists, these fucking journalists, who like, oh, let me give you the exclusive, like lying about how they came up with this story when it's been out for stupid long. Laura Loomer, freeloomer.com, by the way.
I'll definitely put a link.
You should, man. She deserves all the help she can get. And if it seems, like I said before, if it seems like I'm saying her name too much, it's because people need to be talking about her. That is the tipping point of what is going to get our rights taken away. It's Laura Loomer. She's banned everywhere. Do we not understand that if that can happen to her, it can happen to any one of us?
Yeah.
Like, how many more people need to get their accounts taken away? How many more people are going to be denied access to defend their stories on the mainstream media? How many people are going to get hit with defamation when they deserved acknowledgement for all the hard work that they put forth? She does so much more than any person that I know our age, and I think she's even a year younger than me.
Jeez.
She's done more in the last 4 years than I can probably put a claim to over the last 10. And I can probably say that for a lot of people even older than me across the board, but she's a threat to the norm, and she disrupts the status quo. So people stuff her in a box, they ban her from everything, and they paint her as this Islamophobic, crazy conspiracy theorist so that people don't pay attention to the fact that she's been ahead of the game for years, from the time that she started in Project Veritas to now.
And to circle back, as far as CARE goes, it sucks because, like, all this stuff, it sounds so bizarre and ridiculous that it you know, you hate to talk about it because it sounds like a conspiracy theory. But I recently saw a Glenn Beck podcast who literally broke down, like, the people who started CARE and how they're tied to Hezbollah and all this other stuff. And it's like, I mean, these are the facts.
And to people like Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Directly. She spoke, she isn't, I'm not lying when I say she's been the speaker at these, she spoke at CARE meetings and at CARE organizations before.
I think it's on her resume.
I know. It's insane. And then she goes, why do people ask me why I don't condemn Al-Qaeda? And why do people ask me why I don't condemn Hamas? It's because you deign to speak and put on your resume a known terrorist-funded organization, you sneaky snake. And by the way, you married your brother.
I wonder how that's going to play out in the coming months.
There's this cozy spot waiting for her in federal.
Oh, I doubt that'll ever happen.
She wants to take full advantage of her American citizenship. She committed immigration fraud. I mean, of course it's not going to happen. Hillary Clinton's not locked up either, but, you know, in a perfect world, there would be a cozy bed waiting for Ilhan Omar. Courtesy of the taxpayer.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. It's also scary to think about, to change topics, is Tommy Robinson. It's like, you know, if we look over at the UK, they've already lost free speech. I don't know if they ever had legitimate free speech like we did, but
I mean, they were more interested in trying to diversify. And not that I'm against diversity. I don't want anybody to run away from this. Oh, she's a white nationalist. I'm all for diversity, but when you're forcing it, that's a form of genocide, and that happened in London, and it's happening in the European Union. It's happening in Sweden. You know. Well,
yeah, it's like I feel like the agenda is, you know, we're doing this experiment where we feel like our guilt of not having done this before and wanting to see everyone be together and meet certain quotas to have some kind of perfect world. It's just like forcing groups of people together that don't share the same values or beliefs. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to expect there's going to be some outcomes that may come from that that are not great. People...
Well, a lot of it also, whether you want to kick and scream and believe it or not, is anti-white propaganda.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
People like to say that you can't be racist against white people, and they pay a lot of lip service to these weird new mantras about, you know, how white people are basically like the founders of slavery, when even to this, like, even to date, Africa has the highest rate of enslavement, and they enslave their own people. And we also don't talk about the fact that the original colonies, like the British colonizers, were bringing slaves in order to like spread colonization from Europe to the United States. So it wasn't necessarily like we were like, like we're over here in America now, we're gonna go pick up some, you know, slave ships. That's not really how. And that's I'm just gonna preface. I'm gonna end that by saying that is an extremely oversimplified synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna follow up with you, and I agree that it's you know.
So because I don't want to necessarily spend this. We don't have that much time left, so I don't want to spend the entire last 10 minutes, you know, breaking down the history. Although that would be fun. We could go down. We could break down the timeline, and we can actually see follow slavery through history, because that would be a really interesting discussion, and that would take up an entire podcast.
Let's just see what happens. What I was gonna say was, I mean, yeah, the scariest thing about this is because it's like all the arguments are rooted in fact. Like, yeah, there were people that did terrible things in the past.
If you pull back the lineage of any nationality, there's terribleness.
Yeah, I mean, even Native Americans had, like, when we did all the terrible things to them and, you know, gave them reservations or whatever, they didn't free their slaves until 20 years after that. Yeah. And they had, I think, one slave to every 11 people, which was a lot of slaves.
That's disproportionately high.
Yeah. It's really shitty to think about the life of, like, a slave on a Native American reservation after the rest of the world is not, well, not the rest of the world, but that would be an interesting movie from that perspective. But
well, at least they didn't have the internet.
Yeah. They wouldn't be able to see all the virtue signaling saying, oh, it sucks that you're stuck in there, but nothing I can do. Yeah.
Retweet this if you've been freed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke.
Yeah, I don't know. What isn't a terrible joke anymore? What is there even anything? There isn't anything that could be even a good joke anymore.
I'm still under the impression that everything's funny or nothing is funny.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be able to laugh at stuff, man. Like, terrible shit happens, and if you're not in a place where you can joke about it, that's fine. But, like, don't take that away from everybody else just because you can't handle it. Yeah. And I know that sounds callous, but, like, some people need comedy to deal with their shit. If I wasn't able to laugh, like, some people, it really is like, if I'm not laughing about it, I'm going to be crying, and I can't afford to cry right now.
Yeah, I mean, to quote Gavin McInnes again, to quote Gavin McInnes quoting George Orwell, within every joke is a tiny revolution.
Yeah, I do like Gavin McInnes.
He's fucking hilarious.
As a person, I'm saying he's a funny guy. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says.
Well, yeah.
I don't want to get all these people all over my ass. And you know, actually, I'm going to backtrack that a little.
As a person of privilege, I acknowledge that I
totally stand by Gavin McInnes, and people can give me as much shit as they want about that.
Yeah, I mean, I see everyone else denounce him. They're almost like subconsciously doing the Mark Zuckerberg by, like...
Dude, I had a friend who told me he had to unfollow me because I started sharing more conservative stuff, and I was like, that's totally cool, that's up to you. Did you report me? He's like, no. It's like, well, if you didn't report me, then there you go. Like, at least you're respecting my right to be able to post what I want to fucking post.
Had to unfollow you for fear of getting banned for being a friend of somebody who posts conservative stuff?
No, he unfollowed me because I'm not saying this in a facetious way. Like, I was legitimately triggering anxiety in him. So he unfollowed me. Which is totally, you know, I can understand a lot of the shit I post about is not necessarily very friendly. And if you want to, like, think of me as, like, you know, I'm very good to my friends. You know, I always put my friends first. If what I'm saying is obviously making someone uncomfortable, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm not trying to force my policy ideas or how I feel about whatever onto people, especially if it makes them uncomfortable. So, like, yeah, you know, if you need to unfollow me, you need to unfollow me. I'd much rather you, like, stay my friend and, like, not necessarily ignore the stuff that I write that makes you upset, but if that is going to end up with us having an unnecessary fight, then what's the point?
Yeah.
We'll agree to disagree and we'll just move on. And I wish more people could be like that.
Oh, yeah. If everyone just listened to each other without... Like, if you could just turn your anger and anxiety and biases off and just had a debate with somebody, listen to them, actually listen to them, and then, you know, they actually listen to you, that'd be so great. I don't think we're gonna get there anytime soon, though.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. That is the question of the century.
Very true.
But yeah, I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I forgot pretty much all of it as soon as we started talking. But we seem to have covered a lot. This seems to be a common theme with our conversations, just like a bunch of... It's probably going to be like a gold mine when I go back and listen to it, but is there anything you wanted to bring up that you can think of that's super important that you want to just...
You know what's super important? My interview with Mike Cernovich is available on BitChute.
Okay.
So if you go to the culture page on BitChute, you can watch that. Because I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit. My Mike Cernovich interview came out right before the Epstein thing, so I, like, caught him on an upswing.
Nice.
And I'm also going to be, I literally, while we were recording now, out of the corner of my eye, I saw that my first article went up on the publication called The Rundown, which I'm officially a contributing writer for. So
sweet. I'll link it. Send me the link after this.
I absolutely will.
Cool. Well, this seems like a pretty sweet note to end it on.
A little shameless self-promotion.
I'll let you break your hand behind your back, patting yourself. That's a joke my dad said, and I thought it was like the greatest thing ever.
Funny. I think me too. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Plug yourself, and I will put your social media stuff here. I'm probably going to start doing some interesting videos now that I've got this sweet setup that
Awesome.
Yeah, and Cannibal Island finally came in the mail. I'm going to do an audiobook for free, so hopefully that is going to be happening as well. So more people can listen to the terrors of socialism. But yeah, Kimberly, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And
yeah, likewise.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch that movie now. And shit, yeah, send me a link to your article. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Later.
Later. Have a good one.
You too. That's not it. They were like so ridiculous. Okay, I'm just gonna try a search. Let me see if I can. Damn, they were so good. Okay, now I'm dedicated. I've already wasted enough of 1 minute, so.